Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my April 2026 bullet journal setup. It's been a few weeks since I've posted, so glad to be back and hope you guys had an amazing couple of weeks. Starting out our spread today, we're actually going to be using the fine tip of this Ohuhu water-based marker to be doing all of the basic line art for today's setup, and the reason is because I had the idea of really switching things up for this month's setup. Now you may notice that I'm actually starting out the video on the calendar page. I'm going to do a cover page, I will come back to that in a few minutes, but we're starting here because I decided that I wanted to try out making my own version of a HOBINICHI planner. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically just like a regular planner, but the brand HOBINICHI, which originated in Japan, has become very popular recently because their journals are very minimal, their planners have a lot of open space, and people like to not only plan out their day-to-day, but also scrapbook and have little like memos and quotes and other things, you know, that involve, you know, journaling, not just like planning journaling. And I've been more interested in HOBINICHIs recently because I've seen a big trend from people going from bullet journaling to HOBINICHI planners, and I believe it's because the idea of already having a planner set up for you so you don't have to actually sketch the spreads yourself is helpful, but because they're very minimal and have lots of open space in the spreads, you can add a lot of creativity and art and scrapbooking and things like that. And so the idea has intrigued me. Now, I don't think that I'm going to completely switch to HOBINICHI. That's like a really big step. I'm not thinking about that at all right now. But what I'm thinking is that I like the idea of having really minimal spreads that literally take up the page top to bottom, left to right, and then filling in those spreads with writing, doodles, with scrapbooking as the month goes on. One big thing for my own journaling habit recently that I've been thinking of, and by recently I mean like the past like year-ish, is that while I do make my monthly setups and I love making the artwork and everything for them and I love hopefully having a good finished product, I'm not actually in my journal as often as I need to be. I would say that maybe once a day I'm in my journal, you know, writing my to-do list, checking things off, things like that. But if there is something really urgent that I need to do, I put it in my phone because I'm more likely to check my phone than I am to check my journal. And some days I don't touch my journal at all, which is fine, you know, but because I do make these spreads in my journal and I have like this time capsule for, this is my 7th year now, it makes me miss those days that I was literally using my journal for every single thing in my life and, you know, recording that in the physical pages of a notebook. And so my thought is, this might be a good way for me to encourage myself to be using my journal more frequently during the month because I'm giving myself so much room in these spreads to be writing down something every single day. And I'm hopeful that by changing the style of journaling that I'm doing, I'll be more incentivized to pick up my journal and actually, you know, try something new every single day. So that is why we're starting out this entire setup by just drawing these very basic layouts that I will go in and fill in just a few minutes. Now, I did just want to give a quick shout out to T who is sponsoring today's video. I am using their Moonlight Melody journal for the entire year 2026, and so obviously we're using it in today's video. I think this journal is just gorgeous. I love the gilded gold edges, I love the crisp white paper, and I love the detail of the design on the front. But honestly, all of T designs are so beautiful and well thought out. I think the journals are some of the most stunning on the market, so I wanted to just like give them a quick shout out. If you ever want to check out T use my code MINGO and get yourself 10% off at checkout. So with that being said, let's move on to the scrapbooking part of today's video. I tried my best when editing to rush through like the first portion because although I found it super satisfying to draw out those original spreads, I am drawing on top of pencil with a light gray marker and all I'm doing is drawing like big boxes. So I did the calendar page and I did 2 weekly spreads, but I'll get more into detail about those in just a minute. However, now that the basic bare bones of my quote HOBINICHI spread in my bullet journal is already done, now we can go in and add more fun stuff like scrapbooking. So I flipped to the page before the calendar spread and we're going to be doing a cover page on the right here. Now I actually printed all of these pictures that I'm cutting out right now from Pinterest. So if you ever look at me and you're like, I don't have enough stationery or ephemera, or I don't have the money to go buy stationery and ephemera, I am very grateful to have, you know, a decent collection of stickers and stuff like that But whenever I do spreads like this, I love just going onto Pinterest and looking up specific things and downloading the image for free and then printing them at my university. I don't even have a printer. I just, use the one in my library at my university. So all of these pictures are like swan aesthetic or blue aesthetic or blue stickers, or sometimes I'd go down like a little rabbit hole, like I want vinyl stickers or I want like water photos or things like that. And whatever aesthetic you're looking for, I would just like deep dive in Pinterest. It's so easy to do, as I'm sure you know. And I came up with like 4 different pages of pictures and doodles that I could cut out and paste into my journal. Now, ideally, I would have printed this on sticker paper to make my life a lot easier. But again, because I did print the pictures at my library university, I had no control over the paper itself. So it's literally just on copy paper that I'm eventually going to use double-sided tape and tape everything in, which, it maybe could have been a little bit more seamless than that. I feel like, it's my 6th year making YouTube videos. Maybe I should up the budget a little bit and up the standard. But at the same time though, like this is something that I feel most people can achieve. So like, trust me when I say this is not hard to recreate. Just literally print out pictures and grab a glue stick, Like I promise you, you can do something very similar to this, if not better. Because most of my brain power this month was spent on trying to figure out how to convert these HOBINICHI spreads into an A5 journal, because if you didn't know, most of the HOBINICHIs are actually either an A6 size journal or they're a travel size, which is like more vertical than it is horizontal. So because I have an A5 journal, they do have these, I think they're called cousin notebooks, which are very similar, if not the same size as an A5 journal. But then the spreads in those particular journals are different than what I was looking for. So anyway, it required me spending some time with my ruler and my pencil and eraser and trying to measure out the spreads. So because I just like spent more energy doing that, this scrapbooking was done completely on a whim. I put no thought into this. I was literally just like, these pictures look nice, I will print them and figure out the details later. And then I turn on the camera and I'm recording and I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm not quite sure. So I literally went completely off of vibes. If I was to delete this footage, knock on wood by the way, but if I was to happen to delete all of this footage, start over again and try to recreate this cover page, it would look totally different than what this product is, simply because it just depends on like what my mood, what looks good, I don't know, what I'm feeling. Like it's just so subjective. But anyway, I just wanted to keep layering and layering and layering and adding just a bunch of like blue, navy, gray, and white images here. For some reason, I feel like I haven't really done a blue theme for April. It's always hard for me to remember every single monthly theme I've ever done because, after multiple years of bullet journaling, I'm like, I have done over 60, probably closer to 65 themes at this point in my entire life. And that's only in my journal. I've made journals for other people as well. So I forget all of the, themes I've done in the past. And I was trying to think and reminisce. I was like, have I ever done like a blue or water theme for April? I believe one year I did a water theme for June, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that's incorrect. And I've done, jellyfish themes for August. But for some reason, April, I'm always like more springy or more bright and colorful. I know I did like a girl with a parasol one time. I did a Tinkerbell theme one time. Last year I did, I did the Victorian girl. You know what? That theme was kind of lame, I'm not gonna lie. Not one of my favorites. But anyway, in my opinion though, it's like the whole saying, April showers brings May flowers. I'm like, have I never done like a rain or water themed spread for April? Like that's literally in the name, I feel. So it was about time, let's just say that. Basically, this spread is just a bunch of different pictures of, water. I have a swan on the front there. I have a bunch of different navy blue flowers. I have a vinyl. I have a digicam. In the very, very back, this is actually my favorite part of the entire spread, I found a receipt. Sometimes I like to keep receipts for things, like important purchases. Not really like crazy purchases, but like if I buy a book at like half price books, I love their receipts because I love books. And so I like to keep those receipts for if I'm ever making a spread about, reading or something like that. But I was looking through my ephemera collection and I saw a receipt for a purchase that I made in Paris when I was there last summer. And we actually went to Shakespeare and Company, which is the first English bookstore in Paris. It's right across the river from La Notre Dame. So we went and bought the book, The Poppy War, which I loved. I read it last year. It was 5 stars, so good. But not only that, just like the idea of having a receipt that was purchased in a country across the ocean, and it literally has euros on it, and it has the address of Shakespeare and Company. Like, it doesn't seem that crazy, but it's still like a fever dream that I got the opportunity to go. And so I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I still have this, like I have to put it in the spread. So I'm not gonna lie, because it is huge and white, it did kind of have to be pushed to the background, and there's a lot of other things that layered on top of it, but I'm still glad that I got an opportunity to use that receipt for something special. And by that I mean my cover page. Okay, so we've moved on to the next spread, which is going to be my calendar page. And this is kind of where this entire video is going to look a little bit different from my past bullet journaling setups. So please bear with me. I mean, obviously we've already made some changes in like the order that I'm filming these pages, but basically whenever I was looking up inspiration on Pinterest, I'll put a couple of pictures here on the screen of what I was looking at specifically. These planner pages, because the background is already drawn and printed for you, like when you get the journal, most creators like to doodle and add a bunch of like, you know, extra art and personalize the journal to make it their own, right? And so I was kind of doing all three steps of drawing the background, adding the ephemera, and writing in the calendar page all at once, which is not, you know, how technically you're supposed to do it, but because I'm doing it in my own bullet journal, it's how I had to do it, right? But it was honestly very exciting. Like, even though the background is very faint because it's a light gray, which I did on purpose, I didn't want it to be super, super dark, but, you know, I made sure that the calendar was absolutely huge. Like, it takes up every single square inch, or it seems like every single square inch of this entire page. I also have a column on the left for my goals and my monthly check-in. With all that space being covered, I really have no negative space to be adding things like ephemera and stickers, so I just dropped a couple of scrapbooking elements on the days of the month that were in like March or May, you know, at the very first couple of days and the very last couple of days in the calendar, because those aren't going to be filled in. So I did a little bit of layering there, just, you know, random stuff like swan pictures, flowers, you know, water, things like that. And then I pulled out my black fine liner that I always use for journaling, and I started filling in the calendar, which I never do on camera. I feel like I always fill in the calendar spreads, or any spread to be honest, after I finish filming the entire setup. But for this month, it felt very necessary because the idea of the HOBINICHI is it looks better filled in. Because I'm not spending time drawing, you know, very massive pieces of artwork and, you know, detailed stuff in these spreads, the video would be very boring and useless if I didn't show you what's kind of closer to the finished product, considering like technically the bare bones of this would literally just be gray boxes and then the video would end, right? So I was trying to think of ways to, you know, kind of show you, but I truly think that this spread or this setup is just going to be better when it's filled in, because the idea is that throughout the weeks, throughout the month, I will be adding a lot more personalized details to these spreads, along with things like to-do lists. Like, you know, when I make a regular setup, like for example, think of my March setup from last month, right? I drew a bunch of yellow poppies, or were they, I don't know, they're peonies, not poppies. My memory is, you know, fantastic. Anyway, I was drawing these peonies, right, on like every single page. It was very bright, beautiful, spring. It was great. I actually really liked that theme. But after I turned off the camera, you know, and had all my calendar pages and my weekly spreads all done, all I did every single day was write like a list of 5 to 10 to-do tasks, you know, in every single daily box. However, in this setup, the idea is that I will be doing more than that. I will be doing, of course, my regular to-do list, my event planning, my academic planning, things like that. But I'm also leaving room for things like reading journal updates. And I'm not just talking about like a 1 page for the month like I've done so far in 2026. I'm talking about like I can write every single week what I'm reading, what my thoughts are, what my TBR is, what my goals are, what else, what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, any gratitude for that week, any fun things happen that week. Is there any memories or pictures or, you know, receipts or things that I want to paste into these spreads? Something that feels more like a daily kept up with journal, a memory box, you know, more than just calendars and to-dos. This entire setup is very experimental. I will have to update you guys in a few weeks and let you know my thoughts. But I'm also trying a couple of different layouts as well. So in this first weekly spread, you may notice I'm only actually making room for 4 days. It's because often with HOBINICHI and pictures that I saw, I realized that a lot of like the planning is done on the left side of the spread, and then the right side of the spread is often open in like a brain dump format for you to fill in with your own personal, customizations, right? So in this spread, I have 4 columns vertically for the 1st through the 4th of the month. And I decided to also do time blocking. So I think there's the hours of 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. I may put like a couple things, like I think my classes for those days and things like that. But other times that are not as structured during the day, I might just leave open for tasks lists or any notes that I have that day, gratitude, things like that, And then the right side of the spread had things like my April TBR, which would be the books that I want to read in April, or my weekly goals, or my academic planning and things like that would go on the right. And those can be changed and customized according to my personal needs. Now on this other page, we have 4 other days, but these are now more of in a horizontal format. So we will just kind of see which one I prefer, whether it's the time blocking vertical one or this horizontal one with more space. I did divide these blocks as well. So on the left side, we have that grid, and that's where I'm going to put my daily events, things that are planned and scheduled. And on the right, we have more open space for my like to-dos and things like that. And then I'm also going to be listing on the right here an academic planning column with 5 boxes for all of my different classes, and I'll have also space here for weekly tasks, and then I'm going to leave the rest blank for whatever comes up that week, whatever I want to add. Again, I don't want this to be too structured. I'm leaving a lot blank because I want future me to be able to increase my journaling habit, just get back into the routine of using this notebook every single day and writing down my memories from every single day. So we will see if that happens. I'm crossing my fingers, and I will definitely keep you guys posted on that. With that being said, we're at the end of the setup. So it does seem very minimal. Again, it'll look better when it's all filled in. But what I have here, I actually really like. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, trying something new, You can't blame me for not trying. I'm definitely experimenting this month. And I think so far, my ideas that I took completely off of Pinterest, by the way, all of these amazing creators were 100% my inspiration. But I think that I have a good idea, and I hope that I love what the rest of the month turns out to be. So thank you again so much for watching. I love you. Check out Fossey with the link down below, and make sure you subscribe, so I will see you very soon in the next one.